that, and now we're going to try to give you the tools and materials that you might need to give those seeds what they want.
The first thing to keep in mind is that you're trying to replicate a sunny spring day. So no matter how sunny your windowsill is in February or early March, that's not going to be enough sun to replicate a late spring or mid-spring day.
And then a big piece of that is warmth. So the kind of top and bottom of your seed starting endeavors should be a really strong light placed as close to your growing surface as you can, and then a heat source from below. So in my house I have forced air heat, so I don't have any really good warm spots in the house already. So I use a heating mat. There are various different ones that are available. These I inherited from my aunt, so I don't know exactly where to get one like this. But lots of different seed catalogs sell them. There's probably like workarounds using like an electric blanket on a timer, or I imagine the internet has lots of good ideas about that. Also, if you have radiators, that's a great way. If they get super hot, you may want to kind of create a little space between the top of the radiator and the seeds, but
any source of warmth is a great start to seed starting.
I set up the heat and the light on a timer so that I can make sure that it's getting at least 12 hours a day. Sometimes the seed packets will give you a clue on that as well, if it's more than 12 hours a day that the seeds and seedlings want to thrive.
And when I mentioned setting up your light as close to the surface as possible, what I mean by that is that whether you have a clippy light or a hanging fluorescent, you want to position it right down on the soil level until the seeds start to germinate. Once they germinate and start to grow, you can gradually raise the light source up as the plants grow. So starting out with some kind of adjustable arrangement is nice. A clip light is a good idea, or if you have a fluorescent, and this setup is just a shop light that I put 2 different kinds of tubes in, they're not special grow lights at all. You can get these shop lights that you can mount on chains and attach to a metal shelf or something similar, which will allow you to lower it and raise it as the plants grow.
You don't have to get fancy grow lights. From what I understand, it's just important to have a maximum spectrum. So in here I have a cool tube and a warm tube, and between the two, it looks a little funny because one is very blue and one is very orangey, but they're giving the plants as much different wavelengths of light as possible, but without being a fancy grow light. This I did get is a fancy grow light because it seemed kind of fun for a small setup. And so this one does have, already built into the bulb, the LED is a broad spectrum of wavelengths. Another critical piece with the heat is that for a lot of seeds, they want the warmth to germinate, but then they want to be cooler as they continue to grow. So what I'll do is have the heat mat and the light on the same timer until the seeds germinate, and then I unplug the heat. Or if I have multiple different kinds of seeds starting on the same mat, as they germinate and begin to germinate and sprout, I'll move them to a different shelf that has no heat. And again, that's information that'll be on the seed packet, like temperature to germinate and then temperature to grow on.
So what are you growing in? That's a good question. One way to maximize your space, especially your space on your heat mat, is to start your seeds in a kind of tub.
So I can, maybe start 30 to 50 seeds in this container, and then once they germinate and grow on a little bit, then I'll separate them out into a bigger flat. So this is something that's sold for growing plants. And also, my Aunt Rosie uses mushroom containers. Just be sure to poke holes in the bottom. That's a good shape. Use an egg carton, again, poke holes for drainage. And you're gonna wanna put all of these things in a tray that will keep water from sitting on your heat mat. Another way to do it would be to sew them directly into a tray with cells. If you are real confident in your seed germination rate and you have the space, just sow the individual seeds into the cells, and it saves you a step later on of transplanting.
And you'll notice that this tray comes with a clear lid, oftentimes referred to as a humidity dome. You can create a dome like that on one of your smaller containers with just a piece of plastic wrap.
So what about this soil that we're growing in?
You want your seed mix to hold moisture but not be soggy. And one of the tools that you could use to help accomplish this is a spray bottle, which you can use to mist the soil.
What I've been using the last couple of years is a peat-based seed starting mix, which is called ProMix. Peat is a finite resource, and the mining of it is not the best for the environment, so it is a 2021 goal, and I would suggest if you can find a peat-free seed starting mix. But this is, peat has been used for decades, generations, because it's really great at holding moisture, but not too much.
I hope you learned a little something. See you out there gardening.